So the first thing we do is take the strings and the neck off of this. This is my Jaymz telecaster, boxed like a kit for less than $200. It was delivered to my door in a day and a half, and I've got the basics of a left-handed telecaster sort type guitar. Anyways, so we're gonna basically rebuild it. The electronics work fine for now. We'll change them later, but first we got to get the foundation. We got to get the body and neck figured and fretboard. Fretboard's adequate. We're gonna be probably shaving off a bit of the couple of them to get it leveled out, but we kind of last time put it into a basic setup. Once we MacGyver it to its extent, we're gonna have to probably set it up, but we'll see how it ends up at that point. So first things first, we're taking off the strings. Whenever you're taking strings off, always loosen the skinny strings first, because if you take this tension off with these big ones, there's a bigger chance that you might break one of those. I just found out that one of my paddles is a little loose. Remind me to look at that later. Okay, so yes, remove the strings, remove the neck, because we're going to be polishing the frets. We don't want the frets polishing because we're using 4/0 steel wool, which is the softest steel wool you can get, but it sends shards of metal everywhere, and these are magnets, and electronic switches don't like metal shards, so it's best to remove it from the room. The strings off and the neck off, and then Phillips screwdriver, remove the neck. So the neck removal is done with these 4 Phillips screws that are going to go right through the body and into the back of the neck. There's a steel plate here, and then the rubber gasket that goes between the plate and the wood, so you don't mark the wood. And these are long, so get used to this part. Get to keep this stuff all in a special spot where you'll never lose it again. And when this particular guitar is brand new, so I know this for a fact, but whenever you're taking apart a guitar that you've never been around, or even if you have been around, when you remove the neck from the body, always keep an eye out for little shims, because sometimes when they make a guitar, that all of a sudden the neck doesn't quite fit right, so they'll take a little piece of wood, slide it into this here groove. So, ooh, this one's attached. Absolutely nothing. Oh, yeah, wait a minute. A little bit of wood, but we'll figure that part out later. Okay. Drink. Today, hot chocolate. Let's get the body, Jaymz, out of the way, and let's get this taped up. So the first thing you always do when you're taping off the guitar is put 2 strips down the side, either side, with the edge just coming to the bottom of the fret, both sides, end to end. Believe me, you will thank me later when you find out why. Now you just take strips of the tape about a little bit longer than the fretboard, but not too long, and tape off anything that is not fret. And that goes by just like this. And after you get up into the thinner parts, if you have the wider tape, you're going to have to cut it down the middle and then just overlap what's in the center. That way, even if you cut it on a big angle, there will be enough tape there to cover it either way. So continue on. I hate taping. If I ever get a Padawan, had one. Yeah, you know what I mean. Have I ever mentioned how much I hate taping? Anyways, done, but here's why we put those two first strips on. When we go to peel this off, it's going to make it a lot easier than trying to peel 37, 45, 72 strips of tape off it. We'll be able to just take the first one and get most of it with the one swipe. I've never got it all with one swipe, but 2 or 3 swipes ain't bad compared to 57. And so we also took this opportunity to just sort of clean up these here ends a bit. We did this in the last episode, but they can always use a little more cleaning up. But then what we do is take a flat edge, go across 3 frets, and try and rock it. We're just checking out how level these are. Now way up in here it doesn't matter that much because I never really play up in there. And unless you've got a really bad rock where you might be getting buzzing from it, you don't have to worry too much about that. Now there's a little tick there. I'm going to do this just for practice sake because we're up in an area that we don't play. And this one here needs a little bit of scraping off at this end. Now remember, the frets are curved this way across the board for the radius, so when you're going try and roll, keep a little bit of a continuity to it. Now this is a brand new board and it was flat pretty much from day one because we've already been over this. But there, we've got a little on this end of this one. Take 2 swipes, try it again. And we did about half of it, so there we go again, flat. Now I'm going to go back and forth a couple times just to make sure. Now when you're rocking, you do it 3 times across because if there might be a spot where there's a tick tick here but not here or here. So you only done. And always get rid of your headache glasses as soon as possible so you don't end up with a headache. So anytime you have the strings off is a good time to get out your 10mm socket and make sure every one of your tuners is tight, which it is not. I do this every time I have the strings off, and these were all loose. Well, 2, but they were the same amount of loose, so I'm guessing that the rest are going to be the same. Get them snug down nice. And then there's a little screw on the back that we're going to go after next on the back of each tuner. The 6 screws on the back, you're going to want a miniature Phillips for this. I went over these yesterday, so they should all be snug, but I'm just going to double check them because that's how I realized to check the front of these yesterday, was because I was tightening these up. One of them moved and I thought, that's like the nut on the other side is loose. But I had strings on it, so you can't really get the socket on it that way. That is that. So now I got my headache glasses. Time to do the steel wool fret polish. You will notice I took away the blanket that usually covers the table so that I don't get any of these shards in it. This stuff is bad for that. But I've got a lot of it and it works well. So I removed the body. The body is in another room because of the magnets on the pickups and any of the switches. You do not want this stuff inside that guitar. And you'll see by the time I'm done this just how much it gets. So you just get yourself a leather glove, something that's not going to put shards into your fingertips, and polish the bejeebers out of it. I spend about probably 10-15 seconds anyways on each fret, and then take a look at it. After you do a couple of them, you should be able to tell the difference between it and the ones beside it, so you know just what kind of a job you're doing. That makes it a little bit rewarding, considering it's a lot of stinking work. Some people have Dremels and that sort of thing. Yeah, if you're a cajillionaire. See you in a bit. And this is why we taped everything off. All that is metal shards. And it's only about half of them. You don't want that in your pickups or in your switches. And if you heard any of that, congratulations. Reason we put the tape up both sides. Some of these are a little longer than the tape that was on the side, so you have to pick them off first. But get the one piece of tape that you have going up the complete side and get it all loosened up. And dun, 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 dun. Like I say, I've never had this work perfect for me, but it works a lot better than taking each one of these off individually. So as I say, might take a little bit longer, but it's still well worth it. Get off of there, you rotten son of a... Have I ever told you guys how much I hate taping? Yeah. I do. I really, really do. But now we've got a very nice polished frets that we know are all level. You know, we still have that little bit of bow in the neck. We're ready, other than to just make sure our string trees are tight. And they are. That was the other thing. The string tree holes, they were in the wrong spot, so I've had to re-drill them and try and keep them as close to the old holes so that the string trees kind of cover the bad holes. Other than that, you know, I really didn't come across anything on this that was like extremely bad, other than, all right, two things. The other thing was in the cavity of the pickups, there was not enough room for the wiring to come in and slide down beside the pickup, so that it was so close that there was a possibility of shearing off the conductor. So I just took a chisel and dug a little trench down the side of the cavity that the wire could run through. Blah blah blah. We're ready for the next step. Now, where we go from here, this nut I think might be going. I think that might be the next thing. Why don't we get a bone nut for this? I think I know where I can pick up some blank slabs and we will cut our own. Because at the very worst, we're going to keep this one and see if we can MacGyver it. We're going to do the old bone dust in the first gap and cut the other ones down a little bit. But we're not going to do that until we're ready to restring it, because we're going to want to have to check it at that point. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get a bone nut. I have a couple of old saddles. I wonder if I could make a nut out of one of those saddles. You know what, guys? That nut is the same width as this old saddle that's been cut down so short. I wonder if I have two of these and one's worse. Nope, I only have one saddle. But because it's a saddle off an acoustic guitar, and the nut on this is very thin, son of a gun, we could have big fun. It's even already beveled. Is it tall enough though? Yes, yes it is. This might be a little foreskinning here for the future episode, but let's take a look. Precision blade. Slip it in underneath and very carefully pry. That side's loose. Oh my dog. Simple as that. Yoo-hoo. Woohoo. Yappy dabba doo. Good gourd, Batman. It's loose. Well, poo. But we were gonna have to. No, I'm gonna want this in there when I try and fill in those holes. Time for a nut job. Thanks for watching. Please share, like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Tell me what I did right, did wrong. I know I do things wrong. I'm not a luthier, just an old guy with too much time on my hands. So with that, catch you next time. Bye now.